The Ironton City Council meeting of May 22nd, 2023. With us for our invocation tonight, we have Reverend Jeff Cremines with City Mission Church. If you would stand for invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance immediately following.
Heavenly Father, we come to you today seeking your guidance and direction and business in the city. We pray, Father, for your guidance, your wisdom, and understanding of things. Father, we pray that we be according to your will this day. In Jesus' name.
Amen. Thank you, Reverend Cremines. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good. Roll call, please, Mark.
Cleary.
Here.
Haney.
Here.
Harvey. Hawk.
Here.
Klein.
Here.
Harry.
Here.
Pierce.
Here.
Craig is currently at the district baseball championship to watch his son. He plays on the St. Joe Flyers. Currently playing, I believe, Whitehall for the district baseball championship. So he let me know last night he may not be here, and he confirmed that just about 3 hours ago. Next on the agenda, we have the approval of minutes from the regular council meeting of May 11th, 2023, and the Public Utilities Committee meeting of May 11th, 2023. Do we have any edits, additions, or omissions to those minutes? I'm seeing none. Those minutes will stand as approved. Next, we have audience participation. Tonight, we have a few special guests, so we're going to go in kind of order here. The first invited guest we have is Coach Pendleton. We've got a few of the state runner-up football team members here tonight. The mayor has a special proclamation for Coach and the team. Mayor, you want to step forward, and Coach and players, if you guys want to stand up to be recognized, and come on back. Come on back behind. Through here, Coach. You've done this. You've done this a couple times before. Lead them back here, Coach. Guys, come on back if you want to.
Invite our whole senior class, but some of them have some other obligations going on. So, all right.
It's with great pleasure as the Mayor of Ironton, State of Ohio, and the City Council to recognize and honor outstanding achievements. And we recognize the Iron Fighting Tigers 2022 State Finalist Football Team and 2023 seniors who leave a legacy of the most wins of any senior class in varsity football at Ironton High School. In the 2022 Ironton Fighting Tigers averaged 39 points per game while only giving up an average of 13 points per game. Finished the regular season 10-0. Number 1 in the Region 19, number 1 in the Final 18 for Ohio Division 5 WC Conference Champions, and the 38th school playoff appearance, which is tied for second all time in Ohio High School Athletic Association history. And they advanced to state championship games for the 12th time in school history with a 35-21 win over Ironton Valley Youth. And the 2022 Ironton Fighting Tigers finished the season 15-1 with the most wins in a single season, state runner-up. And the City of Ironton, along with Ironton High School, is proud of the dedication and determination this team displayed to be one of the best within the state of Ohio. Now, therefore, I, Sam Granlett, Mayor, along with the City Council of Ironton, Ohio, do hereby proclaim Saturday, December 2nd, 2022 as 2022 Ironton Fighting Tigers Football State Finals.
Guys, Terry, you want to take a couple pictures, guys? If you guys want to kind of line up along this area, get a photo out here. Solicitor, clerk, if you guys want to stand. Yep.
Congratulations, guys.
Carpenter, congratulations. Congratulations. Good luck. Good luck to you guys.
You provide a lot of entertainment for a lot of people.
Congratulations, guys.
You don't remember me, do you?
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Do you look familiar? How you
Coach,
been?
congratulations. Coach, before these guys leave, and ladies and gentlemen leave, just a few things about this class in general. They were, the winningest class in school history, and, you know, with Ironton's tradition, that's saying a lot, you know, and, you know, I see you guys working, everybody sees you guys working in the summer and, you know, winter, everything. You guys are always out on the field, so dedication, heart, determination, and, you know, ultimately, you know, that's going to get you far in life. So we appreciate you guys representing your school, and we appreciate the way you guys represent this city. So thank you guys. Anybody else got anything? Good. Thank you guys. Congratulations and good luck, seniors. Next up, as an invited guest, we have Mr. Pemberton going to speak on behalf of the ordinance concerning oversized load within the city limits. Correct?
Yes, last time we had discussed this on the first reading, we had the permit fee based on the weight, and I know you all wanted Mike to weigh in on the labor cost of sending out a crew. Anytime that we have to go put up the street lights when we're coming through town. What Mike and I came up with was, anytime that it is required, so it would need to be amended to also add any time that the street department's required to assist with lifting the streetlights on Third Street when the heavy haulers are coming through, that we would charge them additional for 2 labor people at a minimum of 2 hours cost and at time and a half a day.
Okay. Solicitor, did you get that? We're going to amend section, I'm trying to find it in here. I don't have the ordinance on hand either. Well, Bob, is it in your packet?
Yeah, 2334.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
It's
but
from April 27th.
Mary, did you say 2 laborers, 2 hours at time and a half
Yes, at 2 hours minimum.
minimum?
That's a call out.
Any
Okay.
cost for lift trucks or anything like that?
We kind of figured if it's all going into the street department, it would have to be by that. Sometimes it might not be an overtime cost, but it's still taking away from our duties during the middle of the workday.
so the one-time permit fee needs to be, so say it's section 1, correct? Is hereby established that oversized loads as defined herein, as defined in section 440.01, the codified ordinance of Ironton, that any oversized vehicle shall pay a one-time permit fee, correct? Are we doing one-time permit fee?
John wants to add stuff, I mean, as long as finance department's going to handle all this logistics stuff, that's fine.
It doesn't need to be just wages, it needs to be wages and fringe benefits. Primarily, the pension, the Medicare wages, so time and a half wages and fringe benefits.
So a one-time permit fee that is equal to time and a half? Plus
The permit fee is the annual fee that you establish.
That's just a one-time permit fee. The annual fee is established in section
Oh,
2, 3, and 4.
We're talking about any time that. 'cause
That's
not
the
every-
one-time fee.
Yeah, and not every time they're gonna need what should be annual, I would think they would just pay it one time.
It's just a one-time, if you're going to move through the city of Ironton one time, that's the fee.
Yeah.
annual, if they're gonna move it multiple times, it's, section 2 says 500, section 3
Yeah,
says
that's what
1,000,
I'm
section
talking
4
about.
says 1,500.
Yeah, so, and then we were talking about, not every time is the street department required to help assist them come through because the height restrictions don't require it. So like, but when Mike's crew does have to go on a call out, they would pay an additional, and that's what we're doing here.
So we need to, can we amend it to add a section 7?
You're not taking any of this out.
We're not taking it out, we're just adding a section 7, correct?
I don't know.
Section,
Yes.
so
Yes.
section 7 states, if street department is called
Yeah,
out.
if the street department services are required, bucket truck, you don't have to have all that, but if they're required to assist with lifting the street lights so they can get through.
So if city workers were required to lift the traffic lights,
Yes.
If city workers to be called, I think it's to be, not to raise the lights, it's just to be called out in any fashion, right?
Yeah, but that's the only time that we
To
really.
issue a call out or to need assistance, to be needed for assistance, to be needed.
is that the only thing we do?
Yeah, and I mean, so, yes.
Until it
Now,
isn't.
that's why we put the 2-hour minimum on there, just in case something were to happen.
Should be needed, because that's the only, that's what you guys do when you get called out, is raise the lights, correct? It's okay, to be, if city workers are required to, raise, is that what you have, traffic lights?
I think it ought to say assist.
Yeah, I think assist covers everything.
To be need, okay, so that's why I have, to be, are required to,
Assist.
to assist,
Raising traffic.
just assist, I guess, I don't think we need to include it. Assist in,
Raising
no,
traffic.
I wouldn't even include that, just include in the move, correct? Is that what we're saying, Mike?
Yes.
The assist in the travel, or how do you want to word that? To assist in the move, or in the travel, or if we're required to assist in this, what's the verbiage, the language that you're wanting to use? Transit, to assist in transit. There will be a,
On the charge of
guys, what's their charge here?
it's 2 labor. at
Transit,
2 hours,
Minimum.
there.
2 hours
will-
minimum at 1.5 times pay. Oh, you just stated.
Will be a what?
Two labor, 2 minimum hours, at 1.5 times pay.
And fringes.
And fringes.
Yeah, I like total compensation,
A charge of total compensation?
I'll just put a charge of X amount.
At a minimum of 2 hours. Because
Make that amount.
if it's a call out,
It's gonna be good for
2 hours being paid.
A charge in compensation package for employees' time, right? Total compensation for
At a
the call out.
minimum of 2 hours.
So if I'm coming in with my truck and I'm told that, I'm gonna say, how much does that amount to?
Yeah, and that's where I'm saying you have a number established.
Per year, or per
Yeah.
rate wages. Jacob, do you have
That's
everything
where you
that you
get
need?
your number from.
I think.
Well, are we good? Are we good to amend that on the floor? Jacob, you gonna amend it?
I'll try.
All right.
It would be when it comes up for third reading.
Right. You guys,
Before it's given to
are you guys good on that? We good? Mayor, you good on that ordinance? Okay. Next invited guest we have tonight is Mr. Mark Dickus, here to discuss the resolution on the agenda.
We had a
three properties, right-of-way acquisition, that we have to appropriate because two of them are deceased. One has, it's actually 4 pieces of property. One has 4 sisters and one of them doesn't agree to it. So we've just got a resolution to allow Mac and Andersons to begin that process. The council has to approve that. It's just part of the right-of-way acquisition for the Fifth Street Bridge replacement. And really just here if you have any questions.
It's step one, the legislature is given the steps you have to go through to appropriate property. This is the first step. When this is passed, then the mayor will send a notice to those 4 properties. 2 of them are deceased, so you've got to publish in the paper to the unknown heirs, blah, blah, blah. I prepared those notices, Mayor, for you. Because you do that immediately upon passage of this, I'll get it to you tomorrow. And then once those are sent out and it's published once a week for 3 weeks in the newspaper for the 2 who are deceased, actual notices go to the other 2, either certified mail or personal service. Then council passes an ordinance. Takes a 3/5 vote of council to proceed with the appropriations. And then you wait 30 days, then you send out notices again to the people with what the appraisals are, what the offer is for purchase. If you can't negotiate that with them, then petitions filed in court. The money that's been, or the amount that's been appraised for each one is paid into the clerk of courts, and the city then immediately can take possession of those properties to start their work. You don't have to wait for the court case to be over as long as the money's paid into the clerk of courts when the petition for appropriation is filed. So all that can happen in the next 2 months. I don't know when they want to start, but do you know, Mark?
Yeah, last February.
Last February.
They've been working on this, the right-of-way acquisition company has, and it's, yes, it's as quick as possible.
Nate?
Mark, the, I guess, estimated appraisal value for that acquisition of the right of way?
Remaining properties, originally was budgeted, the total project for right-of-way acquisition was originally budgeted at $42,000. It was amended after the appraisals to closer to $26,000. We have paid out 2 of the required parcels that were either partially or fully taken. We paid out $13,500. So we're looking at about an additional $12,000 for these particular ones mentioned in the resolution. That's the fair market value that will be offered. And it has been budgeted and income.
Well, what was that, was that paid out of our share, or city share, or they're not paid for their?
It's paid out our share.
So that's been paid out already out of the street improvement fund, street and bridge improvement fund, the $13,000 asked? Yes. And it's gonna be $12,000 more for that. Okay. And that was included in the estimate that IBI gave us for the whole passage. Okay. I know we're kind of like, we're on the goal line right now, but considering that the appraisal for those right-of-ways came in at half what ODOT considered to begin with, correct?
I think it was IBI that picked those numbers.
Would it be fair to assume that we would have just acquired the property, which we got at half approximately estimated for on the other side of the bridge?
No, because we had to buy every parcel back there. The original estimate of that was like close to $2 million. Because you got to realize that there's people, there are only 8 parcels back there that are affected. 2 of them are owned by the same person, and none of them include any houses or anything.
Right.
So I think the original,
The same process would go in place as far as Max said, as far as that, it would go based on the appraisal value, not.
well, would be landlocking those individuals, so you have to buy every parcel back there.
what that was forecasted at?
It was upwards of 2 million. I don't know that it was 2 million, it was about $1 million. With the property and, the houses, and the amount of land back there. I think that was all, decided on and, budgeted when they decided, the county decided to accept the grant for the bridge.
So what's ODOT's updated schedule now, assuming that this goes forward, timing with the acquisition?
They have been flexible with the schedule, and because they realize the emergency situation with access road, because the bridge has been closed. So it's, for the most part, a footbridge right now. And they have accelerated the schedule for us, so we could get the access road. The construction schedule as a whole has not changed so much, and I don't have the exact dates on it. To be honest with you, that would probably be a better answer, or a better question for Kevin.
Okay. Thank you.
Good. Anybody else? All right. Anything else you want to add, Mr. Dickus? All right. Thank you for that. Moving on to our regular portion of audience participation. If you'd like to address council, please step to the podium and state your name and address, and you'll have 5 minutes to state your comments or concerns.
Good evening, JT Holt, 816 South 7th Street. I don't ever get to come to, usually don't get to come to meetings. I'm at another municipalities meetings for work, so I want to take advantage of it. So I have 4 topics I want to cover. Number 1, I want to commend council and the city, whoever was doing that, on the recently learned about establishing the CIC. I think that's an absolutely wonderful thing. I'm hoping that would potentially lead to Ironton reestablishing its own port authority. I think that's absolutely vital, something we need to do, take back control of that and advocate for our own interests. And I would like to volunteer my time in any way I could help in that. I'm happy to help, volunteer my time and efforts in that. Second, I would like to ask that if I could get some type of action or something on my alley. That's the 700 or 800 block of 7th Street. In between Quincy and Monroe. It's I've had a surveyor there, I've had an engineer there. I've spent several $1,000s of my own money putting cement back there because I kept getting mud where my grass was. A small patch of grass there. I have 2 garages in between the 2 garages. And what's happened now is Hurley's Insurance, which was directly behind where Jason Smith now was when Bob Anderson lived before. I don't blame them, but they blacktopped about 1/5 of the alley right next to my property line. And the surveyor who looked into it for me told me that the plan, there's actually no drainage in the alley because he said it was one of the highest points in the city. So what happens now is water, where it was supposed to flow into Quincy, down so south to Quincy, and down to 6th Street at a drain there at the corner of 6th and Quincy, the water can't get above where it's blacktop, so it just sits on my property. I mean, if it rains at all, I've got water sitting there. It's, until it just dissipates into the ground. The engineer told me, really, there's nothing I can do. It would have to be the city. There should be a storm, there should be a drainage, some type of drainage in that alley. There's not. So I don't know the solution, but I'd like to, it's in very rough shape. Number 2, I would wanting to know if the 700, 800, 900 block of 7th Street is going to be paved. I don't understand why the city would pave up the 400, 500, 600 block, I believe, of 7th, and restart after the 900 block. Wouldn't that add extra expense to stop and then come back and do it later? I just don't understand why, especially when the 700 and 800 block were much worse than every other block that was paved on 7th, except the 500 block. I believe it's 500. It's the last block of the Metropolitan Authority housing right after, one block after Kingsbury, St. Lawrence now. And the final thing I wanted to bring up would be, I've done some research in this myself. I don't believe for the most part that residential care providers such as NECO and other places like that, I don't think they're paying income tax. I don't think their employees are. Just through my work, I've recently come into contact with handling some cases for people who are having access to information and seeing W-2s and it's not being withheld. I'd like to know I know that was a topic prior, but I haven't been in a meeting probably in several months. So my point is that the businesses that are, this is just the whole theme that I think that Ironton really needs to do. We need to stop being exploited by out-of-town interests. And these are entities that bring people or individuals from out of the city, out of this area, to provide services that bring an increased demand on public services, public safety, and they're not paying their fair share. I won't get into details, I don't have time, but I think if anybody, we should be making sure these individuals, first of all, I don't think that they're allowed to operate. I think it's a zoning violation for places like that to operate in R1s, R2s, and most likely R3s, because they are businesses, but they are operating, and they are making money, and they are paying employees, and they're not doing anything to add to the tax base of the city, but they are increasing demands on the city of its resources. So I'd like to know what we're doing, if the city is going to do anything to do that, if there's any updates on that, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Holt. I do have one thing on that. We had discussed specifically about NECO houses, whatever, sending them a packet for our business registry. I don't know if you guys remember that. It's been a couple meetings ago. Does anybody have any knowledge that NECO actually received that packet?
Was it
John?
actually sent out?
I don't know if it was sent out. That's what
I
I'm
have
saying.
to check with Joe, he was working with them.
So Joe would be the one that's going to send that business
I know
registry?
he
and
might have already, I know we had some issues with them first.
Okay.
I was gonna hand deliver that, but I was told Mr. Ross was gonna take care of it.
Okay, so Mayor, do you care to update us on that? John?
Also, if you all can remember about a month and a half ago, there were both income tax clerks that had attended a meeting, and they were asked several of these questions. You know, I hope you remember that, and they said that everything was compliant at that time. So just want to follow up with that also. I will inquire again tomorrow, but you all heard that come out of their mouths.
Thank you. Jeff and Nate?
Sorry, JC, I know you already sat down, but have you contacted the mayor's office or Dennis about the storm drain?
I've yet to look at it, which I will tell you too. Scott is, he's the only one this is the time of year.
Right.
I didn't know about the issue.
It's the water flows and stuff. The 6th Street side is higher than the 7th Street side, so literally all the water from 7th Street. So that would be the southwest part of the block, I'm going to my property, but it doesn't go on hers is because it's raised up, so the house, I mean, I probably like to drain on the block from 6th. So there's nothing, I've even had a contract where there's a drain on the drain. It's got to be on the city, because everything else is still now needs to be drained. The surveyor told me there's not a drain.
Okay. And then as far as the question about the street paving, I believe when we came up with funding for this, we asked for the methodology for the paving to be independent. So we asked the engineer, Kevin Wood, to grade the streets, A, B, C, D, as far as the condition? Did you, well, I'm sorry.
The different, it was HDR, Kevin helped us. I spoke to
The-
him about that. He said, do the PCR rating, I mean, they're all bad. Just to give you an idea, when we did that originally, we were looking at only getting 3 lots done with all the money we had. And we found a way to spread that out. And that area that you're talking about, it's about 4 blocks, as you were saying, it's actually phase 2. It will just be about 12 foot. There will be the driving lane, out in that area.
I will say that council really, we didn't have, which I didn't want input in, I wanted our engineer to have the most input in that to determine which streets are the most heavily traveled and which streets were in the worst condition. But one other thing I want to hit on is the alleyways, which I hear you on the drainage, because I live on Batham, and there's supposed to be there is going to be a storm drain project going on down there at some point, but for the last 8 years I've lived down there, I've had, water coming down both, because I kind of live in kind of what you're saying in the bottom. And one thing I do want to say is with the paving project came the extra millings from the streets. And what the plan was, Mr. Pemberton, you correct me if I'm wrong, we're planning to use those millings from the street, milling the street. We have those saved in order to be able to grade some alleys with.
Repair some of the alleys, yeah.
Okay, good deal. So hopefully, once we get to that, time and those alley gradings, I hope that this alley gets the proper TLC that it needs in order not to
It does a
damage
better
anybody's
job
property.
if you could use the millings that put a light coat of number 57 limestone over the top of it.
Okay.
When did they plant it? Like, how big you're after?
Probably, I don't know, different times a year, it's probably an inch higher. That alley across the street is there too. Hillside, there's a lot of houses in there, it's just, I can't drive my car north. It's gotten so bad that it's perfect. Like, the actual flow of traffic, people start driving into the yard. That's where, so much power, that's where the actual matter is.
Mayor, can you look into that or?
Yeah, I
Okay.
just wonder if that was solved, but, I mean, if it's blacktop,
Any drainage to it.
because if it's higher, I mean, it makes sense.
You don't want-
because below it is
I'm gonna let our supervisors and mayor look into that. Appreciate your comments and concerns. Do we have any other audience participation tonight?
Gary Morrison, 621 South 3rd Street. I talked to you last council meeting about the property on Peddlers. And I'm just going to see if I could buy that property or donate that property so we can develop that. I don't know if you came up with a decision yet.
Nate?
I'm sorry, I wasn't here for the last one, but I was at the DEC meeting when they discussed that. I just had a question. So you're looking for access from the side street onto that property, is that correct?
Right. We're not going to build on that property.
If you're not gonna build on that, you simply just go through like a traditional permit process.
Well, here's the issue.
Where you're gonna build it, I won't say driveway, but if I was gonna build another driveway at my home, I would go and ask for a permit, and I would make that improvement myself. I prefer to just get a permit
Well, it's the issue
now without going through the process of vacating and
Well, here's the issue that we have. the property, I'll build on my property line. My property line to the alley, there's 15 feet there. So if I build a building and I have doors facing the alley, from the alley to my building would be 15 feet. So if somebody, the city owns it, if the city would come in and block that for some reason, and then my building would be, access to my building. I want to build right on my property.
But if you would, maybe Mac might be able to answer this, but if you would get the driveway permit that extended the entire length of that, the side street, for that, I would think the permit would.
I mean, the only thing that we would see is if we would actually build on it, and then the city would block me from using that, you know what I'm saying? And then my building would be, the whole side of my building would be useless if I would put doors, so I could come into the driveway.
Is that something the city could do if it was just the permit, if you got the permit and everything, or?
Well, yeah, the permit I was speaking of is where people want to cut the curbs. I don't even think there's a curb there.
There's not a curb there. No.
You have to get a permit from the city to cut the curb and put in the driveway across the tree line or across the sidewalk so you can make driveways.
What this piece of property is.
Something like that would work rather than actually make the property.
Basically, they should have been a sidewalk poured there years ago. If you look at the next block up, it's in line with us as a sidewalk never poured, probably never will be poured. So we've got 15 feet of property there we're not going to build on that property. It's just, if we would build our building and have doors facing the alley, we need to drive up to it. We just want to
Pave that property.
not really going to pave it with like a gravel, put stone.
Gravel, whatever.
Bob?
Yeah, I've been kind of following this project, and I see exactly where you're coming from, because I wouldn't want to improve property I don't own. And, when you look at the big picture, we give away alleys all the time that's unused. And to me, vacate that 15-foot strip, when you go to do your financing, or whatever you do to repair it or build concrete slab or something, I mean, you need to own it. You wouldn't want to pave it or whatever.
Well, even if we just build a building and have the doors facing there, we'll use it for parking, and then if someone comes in and blocks it, then we wouldn't have no access to it.
I think it's your second time here talking to
It
us,
is.
and last time there was nothing done. I think that we should take some action on it and go ahead and make something happen, so you can continue your project.
Well, we bought that off the land bank. The land bank gave us 12 months to start developing it.
Nate?
Would you, while I know that you're looking to develop that piece of property, that's also going to impact that neighborhood with that. I'm just curious, what are the other neighbors in agreement with vacating that, or do you know how they feel? I haven't heard, or I don't even know anybody that lives in that neighborhood, but I don't know what their feelings are about vacating that strip. If they want the green space, or I'm not sure. I would like to hear what the neighborhood
That's
has
actually-
to say, and get some feedback from them.
Well, that property is actually zoned commercial. So, I mean,
Right.
if it's commercial, we should be able to have if we decide to put a self-storage there, I mean, it's zoned for that, isn't it?
I think it's zoned B2 or B3.
That's commercial.
Correct.
Whenever I bought it from the land bank,
Yeah.
I questioned them about if I could do that. But it's not an issue, really. I mean, it ties that property all together. I've got other properties in town I can develop. So the neighbors actually came to me, he's actually trying to purchase it, but we need to tie that whole property together, is what we need to do.
So the neighbors trying to purchase it off of you?
Yeah, because he knew I was having issues trying to get it developed, and he's just gonna put a garage there. And I thought, well, I've already came to the council meeting and talked to him about tying this all together, because it should have been a sidewalk poured there years ago, and there never was a sidewalk. So basically, we got a piece of 15-foot strip here from my property to the alley that we have to, I mean, we maintenance, we mow it and all that stuff. It's not a big deal, but that should be all tied together.
Yeah.
Because there's never going to be a sidewalk there.
Well, no, I understand that, and
But if we do
But
develop it.
but respectively, I know you can build there, however, right now, it's 15 pieces of script that belongs to
It's
everybody.
the cities, yeah.
No, it belongs to everybody, they're the residents, it belongs to them too, so I would like to, respectfully, like to hear
Sure, that's not a problem.
from them, and then if they're okay with it, I'd be happy to entertain, you know, an easement or possible vacation of it, develop. I would like to hear what the neighbors, if the neighborhood is like, that's,
Well, you got one neighbor next door. I mean, that's all you got is one neighbor, because that's where the property is, up Fourth Street side, the Jones Street alley, and then the alley that goes behind Peddlers goes up to Hometown. I mean, I border all three of those. And then I got the neighbor next door, there's a fence, which isn't a problem, and he's the one trying to purchase it, probably, so there's only one neighbor there, so.
so, I mean, if the people in that general area, the neighborhood, just deal with it, then I'd be happy to have that, I'd be supportive of an easement or vacating or what.
I mean, that's just the
to be
issue I have if we would
accommodating. I don't-
develop
I mean,
it.
I don't know, maybe I don't know if we can send an invite to them, I don't know.
It's almost
I don't know how
like,
you guys
it's
feel.
almost like the 60% of adjacent property owners.
I don't know how you
guess.
guys
I don't
feel
think
about
that necessarily pertains, but it does, and that's why it does, it's in the zoning, but this is one of those things where I would like to hear from the surrounding homeowners. I kind of agree with you, Bob.
So,
I talked to the guy
Are you
right
done,
across
Nate?
the street. He's all okay with it. I talked to him, can't think of his name, but he's got a bunch of motorcycles. He's got the house on the other side of Jones Street.
Now, actually, his 40-foot container, I sold that to
Yeah.
him and put it there for him, so he's into the storage stuff too, so.
So he's got 40-foot containers set,
All right, right
similar
now.
to what you're wanting us to vacate to you.
Right.
Yeah, because there's nothing over there either.
There's nothing there. He's the only neighbor there.
Yeah,
so-
I think we ought to do something to pass something to get this thing rolling, because, I mean, Gary's trying to make an investment in it, you know, I've been down this road where you go ask the neighbors, you could ask, well, of course, the other neighbor we could ask would be Jack Hager, when he owns that whole thing across the street from me, the old school. But, I mean, you know,
Chris?
I had a conversation with Bob earlier, and I completely agree with Nate. I'd like to see where the neighbors stand on that as well.
Mike?
Just to clarify, we brought this up in Public Utilities Committee meeting, and the process is that committee has to either approve or disapprove, and then the solicitor will make an ordinance that we vote on, and we couldn't get a motion for either approval or disapproval, and we can bring that up again when the members of the Public Utilities Committee are ready to make some sort of decision on it, either way. And even if it's disapproved, it can still be sent on to have a solicitor make an ordinance, and then the body would discuss it and vote on it.
So basically, say if they're not gonna, like, if I can't buy it, or if you donate it to us, I can still use that for like a driveway.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll probably have to, I mean, instead of going back and forth, nothing's even on the agenda tonight to even vote on it. So what we'll probably have to do is probably call another PUC or maybe even strategic planning meeting or industrial commercial meeting, and kind of either give it a recommendation or a favorable or unfavorable recommendation, and then we'll have it on the agenda. And that will probably be, I would say, next meeting. We've got quite a while for the next meeting. We can, or we can, Nate, if you'd like to have some of the neighbors come in and give their opinion, we can do that. Go ahead.
I was thinking maybe just stopping by and knocking on the door and inviting the next meeting out.
Okay.
Sounds great. I appreciate your all's time. Thanks.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Has it ever been determined if there are any utilities under that piece of ground?
There are none.
There are none.
So you want to look at a PUC meeting a month from now?
I get, I don't think that's public utilities. I mean, that's not a public utility. I think that's either industrial, commercial, or that's strategic planning. I mean, that
But
has nothing
I
to do with
think
public utilities.
it isn't the process outlined in the charter that it has to go through PUC?
It's not in the charter.
Okay.
There's no utilities. So that doesn't, I mean, that makes no sense for it to be in PUC. So it's either gonna be Jacob or Chris calling that meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, if there were utilities there, then, but they're saying there aren't.
Yeah.
But most of the vacations of alleys or streets involve utilities.
Okay.
Yeah. But apparently this one doesn't. Mike, did you?
I don't think there's anything there.
Yeah. No water or sewer, certainly. No
That's
gas
good.
lines, you know.
Nate?
Yeah, then we don't know.
I'm pretty sure they run.
Okay.
Mike, if we're easement versus vacating the property, easement will allow the use of it indefinitely, correct, for that business?
Yeah.
But-
An
but would
easement
not-
For egress and ingress to come in and out.
But would also give us access to it if we would need to run a storm drain or something down it, if we would need, you know what I'm trying to say?
The
Like,
city would still own the property.
but he could use
So
it,
that
he could use it for his business,
Right.
so forth, correct? Okay. What's the process for granting easement?
Council would have to pass an ordinance that authorizes the mayor to enter into, to sign the easement over to him.
And would that require a recommendation also, so forth, from a committee?
That, and also, when you're deeding property away or giving away in an easement, you still have to advertise for bids to see. Now, I don't know if anyone else would bid on it, but whenever it's real estate that the city owns, that they're going to give an easement on or deed to, you have to do it by bidding. Now, if it's just a right of way that you're vacating, then it becomes the adjacent property owner's property.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Chris, where would it go for what he's wanting to do?
If you want to do an easement, I think you have to advertise.
Yeah, well.
So what if, as a solution, city maintains ownership of the property? This gentleman pays the construction cost to pave, gravel, whatever it costs, I mean, whatever option he chooses. It's still ours, but he's got access to do what he needs to, driveway, parking, whatever. Then doesn't that negate the bid process? It's still ours. He just happens to be driving on it, parking on it.
Well, I don't know that he wants that, because he wants some permanent guarantee.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
If he's going for financing and you have to draw the line for the property and leave that out, it could affect us
The
somehow.
deal. I got you.
Yeah, we'll probably, somebody call a meeting on that prior to putting it on the agenda. Any other audience participation? Seeing none. Moving on to communications, there are none. Reports, there are none. Moving on to ordinances. Marta, would you please give ordinance 2336 a second reading?
Extending ordinance 2275, imposing a moratorium upon new group residential homes or facilities and declaring an emergency. Second reading.
Nate?
I'll make a motion to suspend the rules and give ordinance 2336 third reading by title only.
Jacob?
Second that.
We have a motion by Nate, a second by Jacob to suspend the rules for ordinance 2336 and give it third reading by title only. Discussion, Bob?
Mac, are we supposed to let this thing run three readings for any particular,
It's a time constraint right now. If we don't pass it right now.
No, it's not.
I don't have a problem passing, but I thought we had to let it
So-
go run three readings.
It's not.
The
a
reason,
zoning.
the reason we didn't last time is because we only had 5. So, the moratorium expires on the 31st. So this is the first time that we've had a chance to pass it, and have it go into effect immediately.
All right, thank you.
Good?
Yep.
Motion by Nate, second by Jacob. suspend the rules and give ordinance 2336 third reading by title only. Roll call, please.
Cleary.
Aye.
Haney.
Aye.
Hawk.
Aye.
Klein.
Aye.
Harry.
Aye.
Pierce.
Aye.
Rules have been suspended for ordinance 2336. Marta, would you please give that third reading by title only?
Extending ordinance 2275, imposing a moratorium upon new group residential homes or facilities and declaring an emergency. Third reading.
Nate?
Make a motion to adopt ordinance 2336.
Jacob?
Second.
Have a motion by Nate and a second by Jacob to adopt ordinance 2336. Roll call, please.
Discussion.
No, Nate, sorry.
Discussion.
Discussion.
There's a few things that I'd like to kind of talk about related to this. Some of the things I still think we need to take care of. One is our R1A map. We talked about, we've got about, I don't know, I think we left off about half of it, so I think that's why it's kind of pressing that we do this so we can address some of these issues that we've had. So I would like to see if we could have another zoning workshop to address some of this. Again, I don't want to go into this like hastily either. I'd like to be able to get feedback from the community. I'd like to get a good map out there for people to view and give feedback. So I'd like to be able to work on that this summer also and try to get that going. And I kind of forward where we left off with Jacob to update our progress maps on that. And then the second thing too, we need to extend this was kind of evaluating some of the language with the licensing requirements as far as, I don't know, Mayor, can you speak to also what we passed with the licensing requirements as far as some of the and/or language in it, reevaluating that, with certifications required for that? Yes. Yeah.
In speaking with Councilman Hahn, there was one accreditation for us, one part.
Yeah, that's national.
And you can explain, like, it's a pretty extensive process to obtain that card, I believe.
Yeah, it's
Highly audited.
Yeah.
And I think with that and/or, everyone has to have their own loss, I believe, to build Medicaid. So put that as one of them, everybody's got that. But what I think everyone's been trying to accomplish here is what there's been a lack of, which is oversight on this stuff. And that's where you were telling me that ARP comes in and pretty thorough.
Yeah.
They do on like these places to get that accreditation. So it might solve a lot of the issues of the oversight on some of these.
So I guess I'd like to take a look at that a little bit also, that accreditation and where that might work in what we have along with the zoning leading up to this extension to October.
Now, I would like to add, Nate, is the one, because I've compared that legislation, the oversight committees or, groups or whatever, those were the four specifically mentioned by the advocates or the coalition or whatever for the proper regulation of the group home. So that was input directly from that group. So I just want to put that out there, that those are the four. It wasn't one, it wasn't two, it was four of them. And those are the four that they wanted, and they said all of them. They need to have certification in every single one of them. So that's why that was in there.
And maybe, no, I agree with you, that, I do recall that, but I think there was a or statement on that, correct? As
Yeah,
far
and
as-
Mac, this is the one that we came to discuss with you, and you said it looked like it was reading and/or, because we weren't sure. It said and/or one of the following, or the following.
No, it said in good
And/or
standing,
following.
accredited or in good standing with, and/or good standing with.
Yeah, and
So it included all four of them, then at the end of it, it said and, either whatever, authorized and/or in good standing with. So they could have accreditation, but if they're on like suspension, they wouldn't be in. That's where the and/or statement came in. Chris?
Per the conversations we had yesterday, I was in the meeting Friday with that coalition, and specifically the entity is all I can think to call it, that exists at 12th and McGovney that has now clover-leafed from one house to now 3 houses. The folks from that coalition spoke to that very point, CARF being something this place is in violation of. So, yes, I think that's extremely important that we stick to those 4 governing bodies.
Well, the moratorium gives us the ability to do that and more thoroughly look at our zoning also.
So what I'm saying is that you say they have to have a car.
It already does say they have to have cars.
No, but the other, if they have Omos, then they're all got Omos.
The others are less rigorous. So CARF is like a gold standard that's,
No.
that would.
It's
Well,
like
this,
we have-
okay, so, but
we have
this,
state auditors.
this doesn't have anything to do with passing this right now.
Yeah.
It
No, I
just- that's
understand,
what-
it gives us time to evaluate.
Exactly, I agree.
Yes.
Roll call, please, Marta.
Cleary.
Aye.
Hany.
Aye.
Hawk.
Aye.
Klein.
Aye.
Harry.
Aye.
Pierce.
Aye.
Ordinance 2336 has been adopted. Moving on to ordinance 2324, would you please give that third reading?
Setting a speed limit for trains operating in the city of Ironton, Ohio, and declaring an emergency. Third reading.
Bob?
I make a motion that we adopt ordinance 2324.
Chris?
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Bob and a second by Chris. Now, just for transparency, a little bit of discussion is, currently, I've stated this before, but currently, the speed limit for trains traveling through city limits is 40. If you've been to Save a Lot when a train's barreling through there with a heavy load on it, you can literally feel it in your chest. So with all the things happening nationwide, I know it's, kind of toned down a little bit, but a lot of people contacted me about the speed of trains going through there. We did send them a certified letter, Norfolk and Southern, we did send them a certified letter stating the purpose of this legislation. So I just want to clear that up. This would make it from 40 to 25. Nate?
I just want to follow up with the chief to see if you could get us some cost estimates for the speed monitoring system that you talked about for this. And then we can try to maybe work that into your budget.
One we worked with, I dealt with several years back, they had one standalone unit that was monitored, so I had to go with it. But they do make, versions that they can do that, I'll look into it.
Okay, thanks.
Mike?
I just wanted, for the sake of discussion, I just wanted to let you know that I can't vote for this. I'll have to abstain because I have an affiliation with the railroad. However, I do know that they are building trains now that are longer, up to 14, almost 15,000 feet. And if you slow that speed limit down, and I don't have a dog in this fight, but the time it would take that length of train to pass would be a little over 6 minutes. And just something to consider with all the festivities we are going to have at the riverfront. A 6-minute train, it's something to think about.
Bob?
Just FYI, I travel that street 4 or 5 times a day. Second Street up here. Yesterday, we were 47 miles an hour. But, I can feel my speed gradually be right beside us what we're doing. And one day last week, it was the same way. They run 47 miles per hour through this city. At least twice, I know. And it's like you said over there, and you can feel it if you've been there grocery store.
And I do, Nate inquired about the monitoring system. That'd be a great way to where we don't have to type any resources, just, hey, we can check digitally or, through Wi-Fi or whatever, and pictures pop up kind of like a trail cam or whatever. Here's the speed, here's your picture, send it off to them. Eventually they'll comply. You got anything?
And I agree, Mike. I know we are wanting to use more on the other side of the railroad track, the riverfront, the industrial area, so forth. However, if we had an incident in the middle of our downtown, like they had in East Palestine, it would be absolutely devastating for our community. So I think the 6 million is worth it in my mind, and I'd rather act cautiously moving forward. So
I agree. I just wanted
that's my-
information out there.
That's my opinion.
I agree. And Mike, imagine if something happened on the north end and derailments, and you'd be out of the home, and I think I would too. So, I mean, there was just a lot of concerns about that, and I wholeheartedly agree with the concerns of the residents that approached me with this. That being said, we've got a motion by Bob and a second by Chris. Roll call,
Got one
please.
more,
Oh, Bob, sorry.
one more question, Mike. Is where the trains are so long, is that why they're putting an engine in the middle now?
Yes, anything over 12,000 feet has to have 3 engines, 2 in the front and 1 in the middle.
Okay. So they just started doing that a month or 2 ago?
Yeah, save money.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Good. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Cleary.
Aye.
Haney.
Aye.
Hawk.
Aye.
Klein.
Aye.
Harry.
Aye.
Pierce.
Abstain.
Ordinance 2324 has been adopted. Moving on to ordinance 2334. Marta, would you please give that third reading? Jacob?
Yeah,
On that
amend
before the first reading, or before the third?
Yes.
Okay, Jacob?
I would like to make a motion to amend ordinance 2334, and add a section 7 that states in instances where the street department is required to assist in transit, there shall be a one-time charge equal to 2 laborers, 2 hours minimum pay at 1.5 times overtime pay plus fringe benefits.
Okay, 2 laborers at
2 hours minimum
2
pay.
hours. Minimum pay?
2 hours.
Did you give that its
2 hours
reading yet?
minimum pay.
Did you give that its reading yet?
Laborers
2 laborers at 2 hours minimum pay
at 5.5.
at time and 1.5
I guess plus fringe.
plus
Fringe benefits.
fringe benefits. We have a motion to amend sections, or to amend ordinance 2334 and add section 7. Chris?
I'll second.
I have a motion by Jacob and a second by Chris to amend ordinance 2334. Roll call, please.
Cleary.
Aye.
Haney.
Aye.
Hawk.
Aye.
Klein.
Aye.
Harry.
Aye.
Pierce.
Aye.
Ordinance 2334 has been amended. Marta, would you please give amended ordinance 2334 roll call, reading by title only?
Establishing fees for oversized loads in the city and declaring an emergency. Third reading.
Jacob?
Make a motion to adopt ordinance 2334.
Amended ordinance 2334. Thank you. Bob?
I'll make a motion, I'll make a second to adopt the amended version.
Discussion.
Discussion.
I just seeking some clarity in sections 2, 3, and 4. An annual permit fee is assessed in those sections. And is annual, does that mean our calendar year? And how many times can a vehicle then have access in that calendar year?
The annual would be on the calendar year, and, you know, if you get an annual fee, it's kind of like an annual park pass to Kings Island. You can come every day if you want to.
Okay. So if a vehicle, a 90,000-pound vehicle comes 32 times, that's what, just being clear on this.
As long as it goes up to 91, they have to get another permit too.
I'm sorry?
So there's 3 of those echelons for that, and whichever one they meet, so as long as they stay within the permit weight requirement, if they go to a different weight, they'll have to obtain one of those as well.
John?
Mr. Chairman, because we have this question on service workers' licenses, I would like it to say in there somewhere per calendar year, because a lot of people will say, well, is that from May 1st to April 30th? Or whatever, they get confused. We tell them service worker license, buy it January 1st or December 31st, it's the same amount. So if it could spell out per calendar year, I would be very appreciative.
Or we can amend it later if we need to. Chris?
That's actually a really good point, John, because if somebody comes in May and buys it, it's still a calendar year.
It
So
just goes through December.
that's correct. So we don't have to honor all the way through.
And did this say adjusted annually by CPI?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, we've got a motion by Jacob and a second by Bob to adopt amended ordinance 2334. Roll call, please.
Cleary.
Aye.
Hany.
Aye.
Hawk.
Aye.
Klein. Harry.
Aye.
Pierce.
Aye.
Ordinance 2334 has been adopted. Moving on to resolutions. Marta, would you please give reading to resolution 2337?
Declaring intent to appropriate property for the construction of the North Fifth Street Municipal Bridge Project in the city of Ironton, Ohio, and declaring an emergency.
Bob?
I'll make a motion to pass resolution 2337.
Jacob?
I'll second.
Have a motion by Bob and a second by Jacob to pass resolution 2337. Roll call, please.
Cleary.
Aye.
Hany.
Aye.
Hawk.
Aye.
Klein. Harry.
Aye.
Pierce.
Aye.
Resolution 2337 is passed. Moving on to miscellaneous. John?
This evening, there will be some items that you have seen on your workstations. The first one is the April financial statements. The second one is the 5-year plan, biannual update, and to also announce that our field audits were ended last Thursday, so we'll probably be getting some notification within the next 4 to 6 weeks after the reports get audit.
Thank you. Nate?
Make a motion to receive, file, and make part of the minutes, the April 2023 financials, and the 5-year plan.
Chris?
I'll second.
Have a motion by Nate and a second by Chris to accept May financials and biannual 5-year plan. Roll call, please.
Cleary.
Aye.
Hany.
Aye.
Hawk.
Aye.
Klein.
Aye.
Harry.
Aye.
Pierce.
Aye.
Those documents have been accepted. Chris?
Quickly, updates for the folks that addressed council last meeting. First, folks that live in the neighborhood on North 3rd Street, thank you goes out to Mayor Cramblett and to Chief Johnson for addressing, or for the beginning at least, of addressing removing of oversized vehicles. At least 1 or 2 of those vehicles have been removed. So the people from that neighborhood wanted me to tell you thank you. My understanding is that we've issued several 5-day warnings on several of those vehicles, many of them that are currently unregistered or non-operational. The question the neighbors have is when those will turn into actual citations. So that's number 1. Yes.
As of tonight, there are 4 vehicles down there, all have valid registrations, they're all not illegal.
Perfect, thank you. I'll pass that along. Number 2, thanks goes out to Judge Waldo and his team for addressing the issues at the 700 block of South 8th Street. Court orders were issued by the judge's bailiff. It's still an issue, but it seems that there is a plan in motion, so the folks there on South 8th Street asked me also to say thank you. Number 3 is the 2200 block of South 7th Street. There's a resident with a disability, and on the back of her vehicle, she has an affixed structure that brings with her, the disability vehicle, a cart, I believe, and because, as Mr. Holt mentioned, the condition of the alley, she can't get onto her property without dragging the entire bottom of her car, and that apparatus is causing damage to it. So she'd like to have somebody go take a look. As I said, it's the 2200 block of South 7th Street. And then the last thing, the folks on Karen Street, Your Honor, if you could give some sort of an update. And I told them that they are probably going to be impacted by the water project that we have going on down in Green Valley. They just wanted to know what the update is on that as far as repairs for their street, if it's going to be asphalted over the broken up concrete, or if it's going to be reconcreted, and then for final map of the drains. That's it.
Yeah, it's not, they're not done with the site, we're at 60%. It will be asphalt, but it'll be complete reconstruction.
Okay. They had two pretty significant sinkholes, I guess, on Karen. I think one might have even been before you were in office. The car went down into it, and then
They're all bad down there.
Where's it at?
Karen. Oh, the entire street. of
Yeah.
Karen. One had been repaired with cement. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other miscellaneous?
I want to thank Mr. Pemberton for his work on Phase 1 of the streets. I even saw your crews down today working on Mean Street, fixing a drain down there. And there is a lady, Sue Pearson on Clark Street, just wanted me to remind you of that ditch and culvert. That
She's the one on Higgins.
No, she's on Clark. Mr. Pemberton and I looked at that some time back. And hopefully after things settle down a little bit, you can attend to that. Just wanted to mention it tonight. Mr. Mayor, at the last council meeting, you had said bids would go out in about 2 weeks.
Not done yet, I just sent it to him, get the week, and I haven't got a cost estimate yet.
Okay. Still waiting on that.
I was just getting trade committee meeting at 7 o'clock.
Yeah, I got 3 things regarding that, and then I'm done.
Will there be any porta potties or trash cans on the parade route?
I don't think there ever has been.
Okay.
I mean, I really don't.
I had someone ask that question.
He may be able to answer that after tonight. Lastly, pickleball tournament coming up the 27th. Brett Thomas told me that tomorrow will be the last day for registration. We have quite a few teams registered for that, so don't forget about that. Graduation is going on or is coming up, so congratulations to all the Ironton City residents that are going to be graduating or have a family member graduating. Please be safe and have fun. Memorial Day parade is coming up this coming Monday, so don't forget about that and enjoy the time. What is it? Oh, Navy. Thank you for reminding me about that. Navy Night is Thursday at the riverfront, so don't forget about that. Bob?
Move to adjourn.
Jacob?
Second.
Have a motion by Bob, second by Jacob to adjourn. Roll call, please.
Cleary. Hany.
Aye.
Hawk.
Aye.
Klein.
Aye.
Harry.
Aye.
Pierce.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for attending.